So today we have a guest. Would you like to introduce our guest today?
Yes, bro. She's a very dear friend of mine. Bro, let me ask you something. Let me ask you something.
Yeah, sure.
How often can you boast to people around you, right, that you have a friend who worked in Silicon Valley?
Wow. Not a lot. I usually boast my friend from NUS.
NUS, NTU, SMU. Right. Okay, so without further ado, let us introduce my special friend here,
Yeah.
Ng Wen-Yi.
Special friend. All right.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So Wen-Yi,
Yeah.
do a self-intro. A quick one, short one.
Okay, so I'm Wen-Yi. I'm 24 this year. I used to intern in Silicon Valley under the Ngee Ann Poly GIP program. So yeah, for a year. So that's yeah.
For a year, very long. Usually Singapore intern only 6 months.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I think because for them, right, they feel like 6 months not enough. Like you train your interns for the first 3 months and then they work 3 months and then they're gone. So I think 1 year is enough. And I'm glad that it's 1 year, honestly. Yeah, I love that it's 1 year.
1 year of a fruitful experience. Actually, just for context, right? What is GIP?
It's a global entrepreneurial internship program. So it's basically for people, for the entire Ngee Ann students to actually go and like, how do you put it? Like to go for that program so they can actually apply for it and see and go through rounds of interview to see what hits lah.
Oh, so that one is like any other countries are not only Silicon Valley.
Yeah. There are countries like, I think the Southeast Asia, Thailand, Indonesia, and then, yeah, I was just lucky to be able to go Silicon Valley.
Oh, interesting. Interesting.
GEP.
What is GEP?
Yeah.
GIP.
GIP.
Actually, what made you want to take on this chance to?
I think it's very interesting because whenever I look back at it, right, like I find myself wanting to go out of Singapore. Because one thing for sure for me is that when I reached year 3, I didn't want to stay in Singapore for internship because the interns, like the intern program that I heard are all really boring to me. I'm very sorry, but yeah, it's just really.
Hey, I intern Singapore, no.
Yeah,
I think most of Singaporeans intern in Singapore during their schooling days.
Yeah. But I think it's not something that I want to have. Because for me, I want to really explore like the different areas of life. So I think that's when I decided that, okay, if there's any opportunity that I can go overseas for intern, then I would grab it. And then just nice, I remember in one of our lecture halls, and then I think they came in, GIP, like, lecturers came in to talk about it. And then that was when I knew, like, okay, this was the chance. And I took it as my only chance. It was like a do or die thing. So I think, yeah, that's when I just...
Wow. Quite serious, do or die.
Yeah, really.
Their motivation was damn strong.
Yeah.
She's very adventurous to be able to go to Silicon Valley. How old was you? How old were you back then?
I was 18, turning 19.
Wow. 18, turning 19, no, go to Western country.
Yeah,
Bro,
it was my
for
first
me,
time.
Should have added that into your introduction. I'm an adventurous 24-year-old.
Yeah. Bro, for me, right, I'm actually quite scared to even travel to Western countries.
Why?
I don't know, I just feel very intimidated.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, a lot of,
All the preparation you have to probably do before
not only
you fly.
that, but also
Culture-wise, I think it's
also
very
like very different.
Yeah, very different.
Actually, I'm quite curious also. When you were interning for this internship, right, what was your role in the company?
I was actually a creative service intern because when I applied for GIP, right, I said that I was a designer because I love graphic design in general. So I wanted to do anything that was related to design, right? So that was when I, they took my resume and then they sent out to companies. So,
Then the company picked you lah.
it was actually a very long process because I'm from Chinese Media and Comms, right?
Right.
So the first reaction was to send me to China.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't want that. So
Makes sense.
So I had to. I was so pissed off, honestly, because I was like, why is it because I'm from Chinese media means I have to go to China? Right? So I don't know where I got the guts to go up to the lecturer and be like, I don't want to go to China. Like, can you place me somewhere else in a Western country? So we had a lot of back and forth, and then it was so hectic because I was so close to losing an internship. So she was like saying, if you don't have a placement, if we can't find you one, you have to come back to Singapore. And that was the last thing that I want to do. So, like, I'm so glad that I think at the second last week of, everyone having their own placements in intern, I was able to land one in Silicon Valley.
Hey, by the way, a bit of context. She's actually the same course as me.
Oh, yeah.
We're from the
you guys
same
were the
course.
same course.
Yeah.
So
I
what was the
understand Chinese Media and Communication is in Ngee Ann Poly.
Not a very common...
Yeah, it's not a very common thing. So I understand where she's coming from. Like, being in that course, then you have to be in China for internship. Yeah. Because me myself, I intern in a radio station, Chinese radio station. Yeah. So it's very similar lah. It's very similar. So actually, when you took on the role in Silicon Valley, was it similar to what you learned in school?
I would say not really, because in school we were taught a lot on production, right? And I wasn't someone that loved production in general. And I heard that, a lot of our seniors are, even though like those that are in GEIP, this program, they go to China and then they do production and stuff like that. So I would say it's very different, because for graphic design, for me, I am self-taught. Like I like it, so I teach myself from there. So I would say the job scope is a lot related to graphic design and marketing, but not so much on like production, which is what we were taught in school.
Right.
So it's a little different.
Wow, not easy.
Not easy.
So because I thought that you got into the internship in Silicon Valley, right? Because you applied for it through your GIP program and you got it. But apparently that's not the case. Like, you had to fight for it.
Honestly, I don't know where I got the guts from. Like, even until today, I'm like, where did I think that was the motivation. Like, I really wanted to, and I was a rebel, like, in a sense. I've always been a rebel. I always question, like, why does things have to be this way, like how society deems it as is. So,
Must have been tough for her lah, because I remember during that period when she was fighting for this Silicon Valley thing, right? She was actually a project lead for our FYP. Yeah. So it was quite hectic for her.
Yeah, and we were in Taiwan. I remember this so clearly because everyone else were talking about like their placements in internship. Like, oh, I got this company, I got the company. And then when everyone asked me like, so where are you going? I'm like, I don't know. I don't even know where I'm going. Like, I have no placements at all.
Yeah.
Everything's in there.
Because I think our batch, right, she's the only one, right, who landed an internship that is not in Singapore. Yeah. It's through the special program. Actually, what's the success rate for the program? Usually, is it like if anybody apply, then confirm plus chop will get one?
No, I think because we are fighting with every other school, we are fighting with business school on engineering and stuff like that. So it's it's very intimidating.
So it's not a confirm plus chop thing.
Yeah, it's not confirm plus chop. Makes sense.
I don't know.
Something to take away. If you guys want something, you have to fight for it.
Yes.
Yeah. And if you guys like, let's say you're in school you want to go for internship, like, maybe you can try. I believe most of the schools should have this kind of a system.
Yeah.
That helps students to go overseas to do internship.
Have is one thing lah. I mean, have also, but you still need to fight, right?
But I think it's worth fighting for because you're getting out of your comfort zone, definitely.
Yeah. Speaking of this, right, you mentioned there's cultural differences overseas, right? What was the cultural difference that you saw or that you experienced when you were in Silicon Valley as compared to in Singapore?
Oh, it's huge. Like, there's so many. Because the first is our accent. They can't understand us.
Yeah. I tell you a funny story. So previously I had an intern, right? I had an intern in my previous job.
Yeah.
She's from, I think she's from Sweden or something.
Hey, don't do the accent here. No,
I'm not gonna do the accent. So every time I speak to her, right, every 3 sentences, she'll, huh?
Yeah, they'll be like, pardon? I beg your pardon. Yeah.
Because of the Singlish lah.
What's my Singlish? Fucking. Oh. What's my Singlish? Very Singlish lah.
Yeah, I think that's like everyone. Because I was born and raised in Singapore, right? So like everyone else, I have that accent. And then it was so bad to a point where by ordering a simple cup of coffee at Starbucks, they can't understand me.
What's the way they order Starbucks in the Western country?
What's the...
How they order coffee?
No, it's just in their accent.
Oh.
Yeah. And then when I speak like something like iced caramel macchiato, right, they can't understand. And they had to like, I'm sorry. It was to a point where I just give up ordering.
Oh.
Yeah, like I can't. Like, I really just can't.
So hard to understand, man.
Yeah, like they're like, huh? And then you see them getting irritated, some of them. And I get irritated as well. I get so embarrassed. I was like, you know what, let me just leave. It's okay.
Now you see why I don't like to travel to Western countries.
Well, one thing that we have to accept is that Singlish in itself is a language.
Yeah.
Right? So sometimes people will be like, I'm speaking English to you. That's not true. We're actually speaking Singlish in Singapore.
Yes.
I
think the accents, like how
especially
they
the accents.
hear it is so different. It's like a foreign language to them, It's so funny. But yeah, that was one.
But how do you overcome this barrier over there? For that
I was forced to overcome it because I had to eat, right? I had to order. So I would pick up like their accents, and then I know like a lot of people get shit on this because it's like, oh my gosh, she's trying to be an American, like she has the accent, right? But it's called code switching. Yeah, really. Don't shit on your friends for having an accent when they're overseas because they have to. It's a survival skill.
No choice. I saw one video online. about a Singaporean guy in Canada.
Yeah.
He was using the Canadian accent. Then
Yeah.
he got
Yeah,
shit
she got
on
quite bad.
social
He got
media,
flamed.
bro. Wow,
Yeah.
rabak eh.
Was he cancelled?
In a sense, I think. Yeah, a lot of
For
comments.
real?
A lot of hate comments.
Oh my God.
Comments. I think he was just doing a very random street interview.
Oh yeah, I saw
you
that.
saw the video?
I saw that.
So he got shit on because he spoke in not a very Singaporean English accent.
He probably studied there for very long, right?
I'm
Okay,
not
I can
sure,
understand where Singaporeans are coming from. Okay, so like
Yeah.
if you're living overseas for like a very long time
Yeah.
and then you come back
Standard
with
one
an accent,
lah.
it's fine. If like you have someone leaving the country for like maybe 3 months and then comes back and
For a
still brings
holiday.
yeah.
It's like when she came back from Silicon Valley, right?
Yeah.
I always call her, hey, when?
Yeah.
Because that's how people call her.
Yeah.
When. Because her name is Wen Yi, so they call
Yeah.
her When.
Yeah, my boss, my like intern boss started it, which I was fine with it because then I have an English name. Yeah.
What do you think is the biggest cultural difference
In the
of
workforce lah.
of Singaporeans? Yeah, in the workforce as
Oh.
compared to people in Silicon Valley.
I think their mindset, like they balance work-life balance so much that by 5 or 6:30, whatever time that you end work, you're still in office, right? They'll be like, "Are you okay? Like, do you need to go somewhere?"
Even in Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
I thought like startups should be like, wow, chiong one. Because Singapore
no.
always like this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, Singapore always
But the thing
Coming
is
from a
that-
startup background.
Singapore always like this one.
Yeah.
No, but the thing is that I feel like a lot of I feel like I might get cancelled for this, but like a lot of Singapore like startup people, right, they would use that as an excuse. Like startups is like that, you have to chiong. There's no work-life balance. I think that come to a point whereby, there's a balance between chionging and between like, having work-life balance. Because right now, I feel like in Singapore, it's wrong to have work-life balance. It means that you're not passionate enough. You're not hardworking enough. Right? And a lot of people take on this mentality. I feel like it's so bad. I'm trying to like,
There's
get
actually
out of
quite an interesting debate about this because many would say the work style in Singapore is very traditional. Because a lot of the businesses that are running here are traditional business, right? Because they're big MNCs and stuff like that. But the ones who were exposed to overseas, like work exposure, right? They actually say like, I went to the same exact company overseas, a different branch, but the culture is totally different and stuff like that. So it's really about it's not the company, it's the country, right?
Yeah.
And it's the people lah. It's the people.
It's the people.
Because it's the people that makes the company culture.
Mm.
Yeah, correct.
Company
Things
culture
to
is
think
something. Yeah, it's something important lah.
Yeah.
You should look out for lah when you apply for jobs.
Correct.
Yeah.
Then the question is, if the culture is really like that, how to change?
Wow, bro, very hard lah.
It's really one
Very hard.
person
Yeah.
by one person. I think it starts from the management level, definitely. Because the management has the power to do stuff and to say stuff, right? So, but I feel like in Singapore, the management normally, they are really like by the book. They are very, I don't know, just very strict and very just, by the book, just did. So I feel like that kind of translates to everyone. And I think in Singapore's education system is the same. Like we're brought up to just think the same, act the same, because it's comfortable. Like when you stand out, right, people will be like, oh my God, like she's, different in a sense, and they'll shit on you for that. So yeah, it's very hard. It's really very hard.
It's like how Singaporeans don't dare to ask questions.
Exactly.
Right?
That never occurred to me. It's like,
Is it?
yeah. Do we not ask questions?
No, we ask, but for our own benefit. Like if we, class participation and stuff like that, you ask for the sake of asking.
You know what's funny, no?
What?
Sometimes when you're in school, right? Then let's say, right, your school teacher invited some special guest to give a talk.
Oh,
The
okay.
teacher also have to specially, right,
Pick up.
pick out students to
Yeah.
ask questions, no? He say,
Like, any
before-
questions? No,
Before
no.
the thing starts, right, later you ask this question.
Yeah, they will spoon feed you the questions to ask.
That's true.
right?
Yeah, it is true. we see that happening a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe the teachers who are watching here can comment in the comment
Maybe.
section below.
I
What
mean,
was
like-
your experience?
I mean, like, it's not wrong, lah. I mean, it's just the way it works here, lah. I mean, me, myself, I also don't ask questions in a lecture hall. Yeah.
Yeah. We're just all like introverts, I feel. Because overseas, right, when you go and order like, anything in general, like they will ask you, how's your day and stuff like that. They're very open to talk. But in Singapore, it's just you get yourself and you leave. So we're all very like introverted in a sense, I feel. Yeah. That's why.
Makes me think about this. Like, if you're extroverted here in Singapore, right? Are you considered extroverted when you
In
go
elsewhere,
over, in the US, for example, like
No,
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No.
Wow.
because you first hand experience it, right?
Yeah.
Would you say, okay? Are you an introvert or extrovert?
Introvert.
You're introvert.
Yeah, I'm
okay, then
100%
hard to say.
Hard to say, hard to say. That's
But
why
I feel like because he's an extrovert,
no,
I
I'm
feel
introvert. I'm introvert.
doesn't feel like
Okay, what's your MBTI, Amiru?
I can't remember.
Can't remember, but you're E or I?
I.
You're I, right? I think all three of us, you're I.
But I don't know if I can trust the MBTI thing, right? Because every time I take the test, I change.
Every
yeah, because
time
you're
change.
different. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're a different stage in your life.
Yeah.
I think it changes.
So it might not be the most accurate gauge right now. There are other new gauges out there.
Yeah.
Maybe you can test lah. No?
Because it's ambivert, there's a mix.
Yeah, that's ambiguous as well. Yeah.
Okay. So
One thing I'm actually quite curious. When you were interning in the company that you were in Silicon Valley, right? What are some of the traits that you picked up from working over there?
I think to be very, how to say, I wouldn't say it's a trait lah, but more of like just to be more relaxed and not so critical on myself. Because I think one thing that I came to realize that I'm very hard on like, the outcome. But it's always not about the outcome, but the progress. So my boss, my ex-boss, he used to tell me that it's always not about, like, don't think about the outcome, but enjoy the progress. Because he keep telling me to enjoy it. But as a Singaporean, I'm like, oh my God, how do you enjoy the progress? It's always about the outcome. It's always chasing after the outcome. So I think that was one thing that I learned, like, a lot from him.
That's very, very true.
Correct.
Then the big question is, right, how do you manage this balance between progress and chilling? Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a very good question.
Yeah.
I think it's constantly reminding yourself that as long as you enjoy the progress, no matter what outcome it comes, like what outcome it is, right? Whether or not you are satisfied with it, at least you know that you have enjoyed it. I feel like in life, a lot of people, I think we are so hard up on the outcome that we don't enjoy, and then when we look back at things, we are like, oh my God, I don't know what I did, and then it all boils down to failure or success. But when you enjoy everything, is a success because then you learn a lot of lessons, whether or not it's fail.
Actually, for me, I think, right, a lot of people, they are scared of failure. But I think there's no such thing as failure in life. There's
just
only
lessons
process and success.
Correct.
There's only process and success. There's no failure. Don't think about failing. Just go and try.
I would concur. I would say that failure does exist, right? Failures do exist.
No, it's just
but
how you
not,
see lah.
Yeah, it's not supposed to bog you down, right? It doesn't
Correct.
stop there. You progress after
Correct.
one failure, then the next failure, then you progress and you get better over time.
Yeah, because I always believe that failure comes with lessons learned, and then as long as you learn the lesson, I think you're better, right, moving forward. So, yeah.
True.
This is really a throwback to our first episode with Scape.
Oh, yeah, Jill, is it?
Yeah, so Jill mentioned something about Singaporeans needing to be comfortable with failure.
Yes.
Not always chase success, and it should be normalized. And personally, I think that if you want to normalize failures, right, the consequences or the repercussions, I don't know if that's a strong of a word, right, shouldn't be too harsh lah when someone fails.
Yes.
Sometimes we are
True,
so
true.
quick to point fingers and blame, knock
Yeah.
the person down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, you why never do properly? You see what happened? I tell you already, right? Wow, this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Your fault.
Every time I this one. Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
You kena.
Oh, no, I never kena lah.
Yeah.
Usually I do that lah.
Now we know. You don't know behind the scene. I kena.
Yeah.
Okay. So, like, speaking of the work culture there, right? How was the onboarding process? Like, towards your first day of work?
You see,
was
like, I think we are all very familiar with Google or Facebook onboarding progress, right? Like they get like welcome pack, they get a tour around the company. It's exactly like that.
Oh, is it like
Even
that?
though my company is not very big, like we are one single floor, right? But I think the onboarding is so much like, it's so different as compared to Singapore. Because Singapore is like, okay, this is your first day, a little bit of the company, and then what do you have to do, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
for them there, like they give you at least like a week to get used to the company and to know the people and everything in general. So I was given during the welcome pack, because my company is a edutech company, right? It's a robot for kids who want to learn coding. So they give us the robot to go and test it out, to go and try. And then we also had like our company laptop, and then some gifts lah here and there, and to show around like the pantry, your bosses and stuff like that, to get to know them. So Yeah.
Sounds fun, huh?
Yeah, it
Sounds
is. It
fun.
is. It really is.
Oh, bro, you want to go work overseas, no?
yeah.
Cannot lah,
Go
later the
in.
boss every 3 sentences, ha ha ha.
Never mind,
Hey, it happens, okay?
you just have to pick up an accent, lah.
Yeah. So like okay, from the time you got accepted to a job right in Singapore to the time you fly there before your first day, like was it like reassuring? Like did they keep checking in on you or have?
Yeah, because we have to do a lot of like admin stuff. We have to do like visas. Then we have to make sure that we get a housing there.
Oh, housing.
And then it's hectic, but at the same time it's very exciting because it's like, oh my god, you're really adulting for the first time.
Is the accommodation subsidized or?
Yeah, everything is subsidized under
The
under
program
GIP.
lah.
Yeah,
Oh,
correct.
okay lah.
So they give you allowance and
okay.
stuff. So it's quite good. Yeah, on top
they give you
of
allowance.
yeah, on top of your pay.
So the housing is fully paid by them or?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it depends it depends on like how expensive it is. So you can actually save a little bit here and there.
Wow. Wow, interesting. I already know I do this one also already, GIB.
Yeah.
Yeah, lah. See, you never fight for it.
Yeah, lor. It's tough cake.
Only she fight for it, you never fight.
Wasted lah.
Actually, having the house to yourself, living alone independently. How do you do that? Like,
Yeah.
don't you miss home, your family?
Yeah, somewhere in a foreign country.
Yeah.
Not say Malaysia or Thailand, no.
Yeah, all the way.
All the way in Silicon
so
Valley,
far
San,
away. So far
San
away.
Francisco, right?
Yeah. San Francisco. So I wasn't living alone. I was living with roommates. But
Wow.
there's a lot of problems.
Hoo-ha lah.
Yeah.
Definitely one lah. Definitely one.
Definitely has to be. Because it was nearer to office.
Right.
So it was more expensive. I was okay with living a little bit further away from the office, but because my roommates weren't. So we ended up have to compromise, and then we got somewhere. So I would say, but eventually I'm still living alone. But I was very glad to be able to have a group of friends that I'm very close with before going there. Because we all met through the camp. We have a camp before going lah. So we met through a camp and we were very close. So almost every weekend, like we will be together. Yeah, spending time together. So that was okay. But during the weekdays, I was alone. I cooked like dinner alone. Everything was alone. That was when I think I finally realized like the peace with being alone. Because I would say that a lot of people, there's this misconception of like, oh my god, you're gonna be so lonely, you're gonna be so sad, like, you'll miss home and stuff like that. Okay, which is true for some people, but I think for me, I've always been brought up very independent. Like my parents are always like, they would throw me out there and be like, go and survive, that type of thing. So they're okay with me traveling all the way there. But of course, yes, there are times that I do miss home. But then at the same time, I look at the things that I have around me and I just want to live in the present moment. Because I know that it's going to come to an end eventually. I know that I'm going to miss this 1 year. So I rather make full use of the 1 year and just try to see what type of, lessons that I can learn and experiences that I can experience while I was there. So it wasn't as bad just because I'm very independent. But it may not be the case for other people. But I would say that, if you're afraid of like, you have all these thoughts of like, oh my god, I'm going to be alone and stuff like that. I would say just put yourself out there, try. Because you have to survive in the end. You're put into survival mode. Correct.
True.
So regardless of whether you're an adventurous person or not, you should at least try it once.
Yeah. And then see.
I would say there's just anything you want to do, just go and
Just
try.
try.
Just
Yeah,
go and
exactly.
try.
Life is so short.
Yeah, don't hesitate lah.
Exactly.
Don't hesitate. It's like there will always be what ifs.
Yeah.
But that's the only thing that will stop you is the what ifs though. Then you don't know like where this will bring you if you never try.
Correct.
Right.
Because for me personally, I'm someone that holds, like, I strongly believe that I would never want to, at the end of my life, I don't want to look back and be like, oh my god, if I could have done that, or I should have done that, I would have done that type of thing. Like a lot of what ifs, like he's mentioned, I don't want that. That scares me even more than putting myself out there.
Yeah.
So I'd rather put myself out there because I know that at least I'll learn something new.
Yeah, true lah. Yeah.
I'm quite curious, like, what are some of the things that you guys really want to do but are afraid to do?
Let us know in the comment section down below.
Which country you want to travel to?
But it boils down to not having regrets lah.
Yeah, really.
Like I've met a lot of people, like they were asking me, they always ask me, how old are you? I say like I'm 24 this year. I say, wow, you're so young.
Yeah.
What would I give to go back to 24, man?
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's the kind of
having
like response.
having regrets lah.
Yeah, having regrets lah.
It's like us when we are 24 now, we look back at 18, 16, we're like, oh my god, I would have done that.
Yeah, it's like
It
we always
was
think
the
that,
same.
we are very old already, 24 already, have to do something, have to achieve something. But I think it will eventually come lah.
That's true.
Yeah. You never know what will happen in life.
Yeah.
lah.
Yeah,
I
'cause-
have to make it clear as well, 24 is not old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
24 is not
You're not
old.
even there yet,
Most of
Yeah.
most of our friends, they are still in uni lah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's just that both of us never go uni lah.
That's why I brag. I got friends in the US.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, but you go no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So always put yourself out there. Go and travel. Yeah. If you guys can travel early, go out.
Yeah, just go.
Yeah, really.
You regret not traveling when you were younger, right?
No, I travel a lot.
That's good.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
you
try
I
travel.
finished my passport many times already. But really, overseas exposure does change you as a person, and it does open up your mind to a lot of things, and you're more sensitive in terms of approaching different cultures as well.
Yeah. I think you know yourself better as well. You know what you want, what you don't want, what sticks and what don't. Because when you go out there and try to experience things, right, you get to know yourself so much more. Especially alone. Like solo travel is really another level of lessons learned and experience. So
But very shocked.
yeah.
I actually want to know your prep for your solo travel to Silicon Valley, because I'm very sure that before you travel, right, you need to have like a
list of things you have
a
to
list
bring
of
there
things that
lah.
you have to prepare for
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah. You mean when I was in this internship?
Yes.
Oh my okay. Because I have an upcoming one.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm upcoming, yeah. I'm going
one time
back.
not enough, two times.
Yeah.
Always travel one. She's going back to she's going back to San Francisco year end. This year end.
So fun.
Next month.
Oh, next month. Next month.
Yeah, 4 months. So yeah, but I think for me it wasn't as bad, the preparation, because the lecturers were with me along the way. Yeah, but I would say that the visa process was very long. Yeah, and then there's the housing and everything. Because when I reached there, right, I didn't have any housing, My housing wasn't even confirmed. Yeah, but I was glad to have like lecturers with me and stuff like that. So it wasn't as bad. But I would say that if you're solo traveling, then it's a different story. Like you have to go and figure this out yourself. I think this part is the start of your journey as well. So enjoy the process, even though it's very like hectic. But yeah, really do enjoy the process.
What was the preparation process between you and the school before you actually started your travel to Silicon Valley?
I think because we have a facilitator there, so the school will actually communicate with the facilitator, and then they will just tell us like, oh, you have to go for visa interview this date, so just be there. So it's a lot of still hand holding and spoon feeding. Yeah, so it wasn't tough for me back then.
So you felt a lot safer lah.
Yeah, in a
So if you
sense.
intend to do the GIP, you're in good hands.
Yeah, really.
Actually, one thing I'm more concerned of right, is that when you work in other countries, right, let's say you intern, let's say in Silicon Valley, like what would be the mode of transport there? If you don't have a car.
Oh, but their public transport is so bad.
Really,
I'm sorry, but it's really bad. As compared to Singapore, like Singapore is so safe. Like your MRT stations are so safe. But for there, because they use BART, right? BART is their MRT. They have like homeless people living in there. So it's very dangerous, especially for like girls to travel like back and forth. Because I'm very lucky to be able to walk to work.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you walk lah.
Oh no, if not you Uber.
Uber.
Yeah. But it's expensive.
Expensive.
Things we take for granted.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, in
Public
Singapore.
transport.
But Singapore's transport is really quite
Really
solid.
good,
lah.
Efficient, right?
It's very, very efficient.
Yeah.
Correct.
I think there was a TikTok post somewhere online.
Uh-huh.
It was a German guy
Uh-huh.
talking about commenting about Singapore's mode of transport, right? And he's saying how efficient it was. And this is coming from a German person, what I mean?
Oh, because Germans should be
Are very
more
efficient.
efficient.
Yeah. Except for the trains, the trains are quite late, right? So whenever they see the MRT on time, right, they whoa. Yeah.
Then they should go Japan. Japan.
I think
Japan
Japan
is
also
really
quite
like
efficient.
we are very, very efficient.
Yeah. But the difference between Japan and Singapore is like we speak some
Singlish.
English
Yeah,
lah,
yeah.
Singlish lah. You can still understand us a bit lah.
No, like a lot of people are actually very shocked that Singaporeans speak English.
Oh,
Like,
really?
oh my god, that's your first language. Yeah. No, for real. Like
Serious
recently
ah?
I went to Sydney and
Yeah.
then they were all like, oh my god, Singapore, like your first language is English. Oh, we are like, yeah, we speak English. And they're like, oh, that's interesting.
So that's someone from Sydney.
No, even in US it's the same. Like
Oh.
So you thought we speak what first language? Chinese?
I don't know. Yeah, like our own language, like Singlish. Because they can't understand.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's why. So it's still very interesting because I feel like Singapore is a developing, as in like we are growing, right? And then there are still people who think that we don't speak English. So
Oh, interesting. Because that's my next question, right? Like, how did your colleagues, how did the people that you interacted with in what was it? San Francisco, right?
Yeah.
Silicon Valley.
Silicon Valley, It's in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Maybe confused. So, how did people in San Francisco view you as a Singaporean
I think
when
they
they found out you were a Singaporean?
they were like, okay, there are two types of reaction. One is some of them still think that we are part of China.
Oh.
You'll be very shocked.
Okay,
And then
understandable.
yeah, those are like, oh, I've been to Singapore, it's a really nice place. And then like, it's so expensive. Like that's the first thing that they
Really?
say. Yeah, it's so expensive. So I think they have the misconception of like Singaporeans are really rich.
Oh yeah, because the housing, right?
Yeah, exactly, and everything in general. But eventually, I mean, they're still really nice. I've not faced racism in San Francisco.
Oh, that's good.
But in New York, just once, that's all. Because in San Francisco, I think there's a lot of immigrants. Yeah, there are a lot of Asians there. So they are like quite okay.
Uh-oh.
It's time for yeah. So in New York you faced racism once. No?
Just once, yeah. When I was with my parents.
Because I know that Silicon Valley actually a lot of companies got a lot of agents.
Yeah,
there, right? A lot of
yeah.
agents,
Because even
right?
my company, we had quite a bit. Yeah.
And
so-
because I saw some YouTube videos, they did a tour in like Google. Then yeah, a lot of agents there.
Yeah.
Interesting. So they view Singaporeans as either part of China or
Yeah.
we're just rich lah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Just
speaking of
rich people.
rich, right?
Yeah.
What's the average salary in Silicon Valley?
Yeah.
Okay, for interns first.
Oh, for intern. Can I say my intern?
No, just say,
Yeah,
if
just
you
say.
don't mind, just
So
say, yeah.
for my intern pay, what I was getting was 1K USD. a month.
Oh,
Yeah, so that's
1K
quite.
USD,
Yeah, so that's quite. If
Wow,
you
eh.
convert it,
think of it, housing is provided, allowance,
Correct.
and
Plus.
yeah,
intern pay,
Correct.
1K USD.
How much you save?
I saved quite a lot when I came back.
Correct.
Millionaire, bro.
Comment in the comment section below how much you earn for your internship.
Bro, what? Yeah, man.
Don't do this.
Okay, how much do you earn for internship?
I don't say.
You should let me say first.
I think that if hers like USD 1K USD,
Yeah.
right, she convert to Singapore dollars, right, and compared to mine, right, I think mine is only 1/3 of hers. Yeah, 1/3 or maybe 2/5 of hers.
Yeah, I think so. For people who are in Ngee please really just go and try.
Yeah, let's go and
GIP.
try that. Wow,
It's worth fighting
yeah,
for.
It's worth
Yeah,
fighting
really.
for.
Yeah,
Clearly.
yeah, clearly.
You see the smile on the face.
Save enough to travel second time, no?
Okay, then what about full timers? Let's say typically those in your company, full timers.
I think I don't really know, but I think for my boss, like back then, he was earning like about 5 figures a month.
Your boss, of course.
Yeah,
No,
boss.
but he's not. Like even the senior, she's also is a low or high 5 figure type of
Oh,
thing.
is it?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
As in like your manager, is it?
I have two. So I have a senior that oversees me, and then I have a boss. He's a creative director. So I think in general their salary is quite high, especially if you're working in Silicon Valley. Yeah.
Actually, I was quite shocked that this is Singapore expensive, because I believe there is more expensive, right?
Yeah, in the city area.
Right.
But
Where they
the,
have to tip.
oh yeah,
tips.
tipping is the thing.
Actually,
Yes.
how does this tipping thing works? Because
Best to ask the.
yeah. Why I look at you?
I mean, I travel a lot, but this is not about me.
You wear New York shirt doesn't mean you.
Personal
Yeah,
attack.
so actually, how does this tipping thing work?
I
Is
think
it
it's a must.
It's a must. Like
It's a
every time
must.
you go to like a restaurant,
Yeah.
before you leave, you must tip. Is it?
Yeah, they have like a section, I believe, at the bottom of like how many percent you have to tip.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I forgot about the percentage, but I think there is like a standard percentage.
It's only in America, is it?
No, I think else.
Sydney also.
No.
Oh, Sydney
Sydney
don't have,
don't
right?
Yeah.
Was it a culture shock to you that you had to?
Yes, of course.
How much I had to tip? What's
I think I did like 15 or 20%
of the bill lah?
of the bill. Yeah.
It's like GST, but it goes into a jar.
Correct. Yeah, because if you don't tip, like they are gonna chase after you, know. Because I had one scenario whereby I was at this, I think, Cantonese restaurant, and then like I had a bug in my porridge. After like eating halfway through, I saw the bug there, and then we told them they didn't change it for us, right? So like my friends and I, we decided that no, we shouldn't tip. So we didn't tip and we left. Like we only took like 2-3 steps out of the restaurant. We had someone chasing after us, and you guys didn't tip. And then we were like, no, we had, but then we had like this whole entire like quarrel and thing like that. But we have to like tip at the end of the day. So it's a very rude thing to not tip. It's a culture thing. Yeah.
Well, that means you spend a lot on food over there.
Yeah, but I
Mostly on
cook,
food,
so
or
it's
you cook
okay.
also. Oh, so the supermarket there, the price
Oh,
is
the
okay
produce
lah.
are cheap.
Oh, cheap.
Cheaper than Singapore, especially. Like, yeah, their berries and stuff like that. Because I think in Singapore we import our produce, right?
Oh,
So it's
there is
expensive.
grown locally. Lah.
Yeah, exactly.
So, in San Francisco, do they cook more often than they eat out?
It depends on your level of like income. Correct. If you're able to, because they have this thing called like, I forgot what, HelloFresh, I think, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, like where they have prepared meals for you.
Right.
And stuff like that. So they will always do that, like they would order that. And then for most people who are able to cook, have the time to cook, then they will. Yeah.
Because it will then make sense to me why they think that Singapore is expensive.
Right.
Because when you eat out in
America.
restaurant, in America, right, it's like quite expensive with the tips and stuff like that. But like over here in Singapore, when you eat in, like when you cook, right, the produce is actually quite expensive.
About the same. Yeah, you end up, I think, spending about the same as compared to eating outside. So
in the US, if you cook your food, right, the produce is cheap.
you save a lot more. Definitely.
You can get like a $6 steak and like enjoy that.
Locally bred.
Yeah. What was your biggest takeaway, right, after you interned in Silicon Valley?
I think it's a lot on mindset. Like one of it is to learn to put myself first. Yeah, because I think as contrary as it sounds, right, like sometimes, I think a lot of times people in Singapore would put their colleagues or put their company first. But because there, like the mindset is a lot on, put yourself first so that you can give back to the company. So my ex-boss was actually really, he encouraged me to work on myself, to work on my own projects. So other than like company work, I do my own projects on the side, like creating content and then like building my own portfolio and stuff like that. So I think that was like the biggest takeaway.
Wow, so he allowed you to work on your own stuff?
He was the one that started like ask me to, because going there I was like, okay, it's all about the company, right? Like typical.
Wow.
So he was like, no, don't do that. Like focus on yourself first. What do you actually want to achieve out of this internship? I think that was the first conversation that I had with him. And I was so shocked. I was like, wait, what? Like you mean I can get to put myself first and think of, what I want to accomplish? Because he's like, at the end of the day, you're still going to go back to Singapore. So he wants me to go back with a stack like portfolio and things that, I can, that will help my future like career progression. So
Wow, interesting. Because in Singapore it's very different. No? When you sign contract, right?
you can't moonlight and stuff
Yeah, you
like
can't
that, right?
moonlight. And it's scary how they really go and dig one, no?
So that's really the biggest difference here. It's like maybe it's a cultural thing also, because Asians, we are taught to work as a community and build something,
Yes.
while maybe over there in the Western,
It's more individual.
it's more individual.
Correct. But I feel like if you think about it, right, actually working on yourself, then being able to give back to the company is better than working in a community, but you're all like, the battery level is all like 0.5%. And then trying to make it work. I feel.
Okay.
It might be contradictory to say this, but probably how our workforce is like, right? It's more like a hive mind kind of setup, right? Like how we operate and how we do things, and how do we achieve that outcome in the end.
It's very logical, lah.
It's very logical. It's very systematic, and maybe it's set up that way because it's more efficient in the current environment, in this current setup. Yeah. So maybe if you want to explore and maybe develop more of your own personal skills, right? Then you do have to get out there, lah. You have to expose yourself to,
Right. Because I feel like it's very different. It depends on what type of like person you are. Because if you're like me and you are very, like the society deem you as a rebel, right? And you just want to be able to get to know yourself more and be able to speak what's on your mind. I think in Singapore's like workforce context, right, you're not able to do that. Because if you do that, your colleague's gonna find that, oh my god, she's trying to like, I don't know, like try to get on the boss good side, right? Yeah. And then like your colleagues will hate you, and then your boss, if you go against what your boss like says, then she's gonna think that you're too much. It's always like you're too much. But when you go like overseas in Silicon Valley especially, like they embrace you for you, like your thoughts for like, even if they don't agree with what you said, right, they would try to pry more into like why would you say certain things, like in terms of what's backing up your whatever that you just said lah. So I think it's really different, because if you are those, I wouldn't say like yes man, but if you like systems, then Singapore will really be good for you. But if you like to explore more and be able to be creative, then I would say the Western culture would
Culture
be.
lah. They are more receptive lah.
Correct.
That's actually very well put. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very different, right? There's no good and bad.
There's
just
no good and bad lah. It's just
where you fit in.
True.
Better. Yeah.
Because I believe the way they do things is because
Yes, continue.
so I believe right the way they do things right is because it worked previously so they're using the same system or like the Western culture. They are more receptive, more open, focus on individuals. Whereas Singapore they focus on team play right? Team play, then everything must be systematic. Yeah.
Correct. Which I feel like that's when it becomes like, I don't know, for me, I feel like in Singapore, we produce robots. You know, like everyone thinks the same, they act the same because there's a certain set of, unspoken rule to things. So there are certain things that we can't do, right? We can't say because we might piss someone off. And then that's when you start to suppress a lot of like your own thoughts and emotions, and then we become not creative. So I think that was one of the biggest thing for me when I went to the States, right? I feel like I was so much more creative than ever. I was able to really just let loose and be like, no one knows me here. I can do whatever I want to do. Yeah, like starting a podcast or starting YouTube and stuff like that. Because I feel like in Singapore, you will always be afraid of like judgments. Like my friend's gonna judge me, my colleagues gonna judge me.
Yeah.
So we don't really do a lot of things, and we have a lot of like regrets when we grow older.
It's quite interesting. Quite a controversial topic as well.
Yeah.
I would say.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, because Singapore is a country run by rules and regulations.
We have to because we're so small.
And that's
True,
actually
true.
what makes
Yeah,
us
yeah.
quite efficient as a country,
Yeah.
and it got us where we are. So if it works, it sticks. That's
Yeah,
what we
but
go
then
with.
again, there's no right or wrong lah. There's
Yeah,
no right or wrong.
basically, it's just
correct,
my
yes.
opinion.
Yeah, there's no right or wrong.
So if you're an individual who is a true rebel like Winnie,
Adventurous.
Adventurous, yeah.
Adventurous.
Adventurous.
I only say rebel because she kept saying rebel. So if you're an adventurous person like Winnie, right, then it's best if you try to explore your horizons as well.
Yeah.
I think it's what Singaporeans are really good at as well. Like being a additional asset to companies overseas. And that's how you can showcase the not only your talents but yourself as a Singaporean. Like what are you able to bring onto the table at a larger scale, like a
Yeah,
world scale.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so another question that I'm quite interested in lah. What was your most memorable experience in San Francisco?
Most memorable.
I have to say the full thing. Sorry. let me try that again. So, what was your most memorable experience, right, in San Francisco during your internship there?
I think was the time that I spent with my boss, actually. Yeah, because halfway through, I think they went into recession. So my boss and my senior was actually like retrenched. So it was just me. The whole entire team was just me. So I think that was when it really tested my leadership skills. Like where I need to step up. Because if you think about it as like an 18-year-old, 19-year-old, to step up and take the lead to do the creatives and stuff like that is really tough. Because I was so used to like people leading me, like being a follower. And then there was when I think it brought out like the leadership part in me, the leader in me, whereby I'm able to hold certain projects alone and work with other departments. Because it's always, when my boss was there, it was always him liaising with the marketing team.
Like,
and then coming back to me and say like, this is what you gotta do. But now it's me going to the marketing team and liaising directly. I think that was like the most memorable because then I shocked myself with the fact that I'm actually able to take the initiative and actually lead. Because as an introvert, it's so hard to tell yourself that you gotta step up. Right? Yeah.
Oh, it's not easy for a 18, 19-year-old to step up and take such a huge task.
Especially when you're just an intern.
Yeah, and I was so
Yeah.
scared to like, what if, what people would say about me if I were to just step up and be like, start leading? Because will they think that I'm trying to, take
this
over?
one intern, this one.
Yeah, exactly. That's the fear that I have. But I was like, there's no choice. Because if I don't do that, then not being initiative, I think it will pull the whole team down. So.
Was there fear of failure as well?
Of course. Because it was my first time. Okay, it wasn't my first time leading because like he mentioned, I was one of like the project lead for FYP. But it's so different because it's with your friends. But when you're actually working with like full-timers, people who are older than you, it was so like, it was so scary. But at the same time, I think that was when I told myself that even if I failed, at least I learned like how to lead. You know, I developed this skill set. Yeah, which I believe will actually help me. I think I trusted the whole process. I told myself that, okay, I'm just going to trust in myself, in my capabilities, and just go with it. I didn't have time to think. So, yeah.
You know, I think this Gen Z right there, you guys are quite mature. Because I remember when I was 18 and 19, right, I'm still playing soccer and basketball. Leading a team, what is that? Talking to other departments, what?
What?
Ooh, yeah. Quite interesting. So, for yourself, going to this GIP definitely was not an easy feat, right? Because you had to fight for it. But there must be substance to why you can even fight for that position, right? And you mentioned your resume. That played a pretty big part in your application, right?
Yes,
How do you prepare for this?
Okay, so since when I was in year 2 of poly, I knew we had a module, I think it was the web design or something like that. So during that module, I discovered like my passion for design. I knew I wanted to do something related to design, right? Because all the other modules, to be honest, like I wasn't really interested in. It was just like meh to me. It was just to pass. And then that module really sparked like my interest. So I think from then on, I decided that, okay, I want to build my portfolio on design because I want to be a graphic designer. So that was when I started to create my own like resume. It was horrible now that I look at it, but like yeah, I created my own resume. I actually went to like DM or like email companies and tell them that, you know, I would love to do design for you for free to build my portfolio. So you have to, I think one important thing is that you have to be able to swallow your pride and ego and be like, I'm going to do things for free. Because in Singapore, I feel like for Singaporeans, it's like, no, I'm not going to do that for free. Nothing is free on
I have
earth,
to earn this amount.
Exactly.
Yeah,
But
you better pay me.
yeah, but for me, because I'm like, I was a student back then, like whether or not I earned that amount, I think what I needed was exposure and experience. So that was what I prioritized. And then I went to email them. You'd be surprised that actually a lot of companies are more receptive to it. I think mainly because it's also like free and also it helps them. Right, so that was when I built, on top of that, I built my own projects. So I'll come up with like creative brief and I'll just design everything from scratch. And then I'll add it into my e-portfolio. So that was how I started building like connections and experiences. I think that was when like my resume would stand out from the rest. Because I think it will always be, like if you look at maybe other people's like resume, right, you'll be like, oh, from school, like what did I, you know, which CCA, that type of thing, like extra curriculum stuff, or like rewards. But for me, I didn't have much rewards because I wasn't very like, I don't know, I'm not a very studious person. So I hone into experiences. I have like, you know, this company, that company, like doing designs and stuff like that for them. So I think that was when like I stood out as compared to the rest of like the people.
So it's always experience lah. Experience is very important. Like
Especially in this age.
Especially because a lot of people when they graduate from schools, right, they have this very how do you call it? They expect to earn this certain amount without even having
With
any
a degree.
experience.
Right.
Yeah, with a degree. You know, like,
Because I think there's still this misconception of like a degree is important. Like, you know, you are able to go out there and be like, I graduated from NUS, NTU. But if you realize in the real, because I'm working in the, you know, in whatever industry that I'm working in, I feel like if you speak to bosses, right, they would tell you that honestly, yes, degree is important to a certain extent. But eventually what they're looking at is the experiences and what you can actually give back to the company based on your experience. Because whatever that you learn in school, right, is just theory based. So if you go out there and work, you realize that theory based stuff doesn't really help in terms of real life, you know, stuff that is going on. So yeah.
Yeah. So I always like emphasize on this point. I always tell my friends, right, or people around me, I say it's not the cert that matters. It's the one holding the cert that matters.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, it's you that matter, not the cert.
Yeah, because I feel like for us especially, there are a lot of people or our friends, like when we ask them like, so what are you going to do after uni? They will look at you and be like, I don't know. Like even for my very close friends, they'll be like, I don't know. Like I just get a cert first and then I'll think about it. But there are also people who I recently met. Like there's one of my friends, he went to Sydney to study. He's very certain of what he wants to do after getting that cert and how that cert is able to push him further. So I think like people like that, like going to get a cert, like is, you know, is good. Because it really depends on the industry that you're in as well. If you're like a doctor, please, by all means, go get a cert. Lawyer, go get a cert. But if you're like creative, then I would say that, you know, for me especially, like experiences is really more important.
definitely.
Doctor definitely must have cert.
Yeah,
Depends on the
please.
industry. lah.
Yeah.
The doctor knows cert, don't come to
Yeah.
me.
I say,
Exactly.
I heard this podcast, they say, I doctor no need,
No need
cert, no,
cert.
experience, faster go and open somebody's
Yeah,
body.
exactly.
We have to make it clear.
Yeah, we have to make it clear. Yeah.
Things like a pilot and all that, you do
Yeah,
need
yeah,
certifications
please,
and all
yeah.
that.
Go and get a cert.
But you know, even that said, right? Like you mentioned, you even went out your way to do projects for free for companies, so that you can grow your portfolio, right? That portfolio in itself is like your certification
Yes.
for your creative work,
Yeah.
right? Because you're taking time off your personal time to make something, to create something, to build something, and that's I don't think that's something a normal student would do.
Correct.
Because you'll just be focusing on your studies and all that. And to be fair, it is tiring. Okay? To study is very tiring. And then you need to get good grades and all that. On top of that, you still have to build something of your own. But being able to do that, right, just shows that you're able to go the extra mile. And I think that's valid. Like, I mean, if I was an employer and someone gave me a resume with that kind of portfolio, right, I'm like, this person seems more reliable because she's able or he is able to
Execute what
execute.
I need to.
Yeah.
Because I feel
execute his
like
wants, yeah.
one important thing is also, for me at least, I feel like differentiating myself from the rest is important. Like I know this is what makes me good enough for you to hire. You know, there's this level of confidence. Because I feel like not a lot of people are confident enough to say that, like, are happy or are not afraid to say that, you know, this is what makes me different from the rest. Because we always feel like, you know, we are equal. We want to try to be more, you know, but I feel like for me, when I knew that this was what made me different, I used that as a leverage. As bad as it sounds, I used that as a leverage. And I know that every interview, because you can imagine like the interviewers are there for like the whole entire day. So what makes you different from the rest of the people that they just heard, right? So when I came in, I knew that I'm not gonna be bragging about the GPA that I have because my GPA was like so low.
So nobody cares about your results.
Yeah, so I went in there and be like, okay, so this is the experiences and this is my work. Yeah, so I think that was like, because I did speak to like the lecturers and asked like what made me different from the rest. So they did say that it's really, you know, it shows like who you are as a person with whatever work that you are doing and whatever path that you are doing. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So moral of the story is, as much as you focus on academics, which is very important, do please chase your high GPA. You still have to build a portfolio for yourself. Like, you know, differentiate yourself. Like, you know, which comes to mind. Like this comes to mind. Like if everybody gets high grades, like what makes you different?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's your portfolio.
Correct.
But if everybody all do portfolio, what makes you different? Your high grades, right? So
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. So it's always
good to have.
balance
Good to have
lah,
best of both
balance.
worlds.
Yeah, best of both worlds.
Ideally.
Correct. And with that, we've come to the end of our show. Thank you so much, Wenyi, for coming down and sharing your experiences with us. Internship overseas in Silicon Valley. Very, very rare experience.
Very rare.
Thank you for having me.
Do you have any words that you want to share with the audience?
I would say for people who are still thinking, or you know you're in your poly days or just, I don't know, A-level maybe, and you're thinking of whether or not you should, you know, go overseas for intern or just intern in Singapore. After hearing this podcast, I hope that, you know, you'll be able to know that it's important to put yourself first, to know what you want. Because if you want to do like an intern overseas, please find an opportunity by hook or by crook. Just get yourself out there. Because it's really going to change your life, honestly speaking. Like everyone who I spoke to after this GIP that internship has really changed their life. So go do it. Just do it. Yeah.
Proven.
Yeah, proven.
Proven. She's so
Example
happy
over
now.
here.
Yeah. So apparently, right, our friend here, Wen-Yi, she has a podcast channel. So.
A fellow podcaster.
Yeah, the podcast community in Singapore. Come do a quick shout out.
So my podcast is a lot of mindset stuff and life lessons that I've learned in general. So no filter. It's our life seasons. So if you guys like, you know, stuff like that, then yeah, you can go and take a listen.
So if you wanna catch up on
My life, yeah.
I want to learn more about her and from her about life decisions,
mindset,
Yeah.
how she is now after she went
Silicon
for the
Valley.
Silicon
yeah,
Valley,
yeah.
who she is.
After meeting Mark Zuckerberg.
Hey, how come I never say this? Did you meet Mark Zuckerberg?
Yeah, I mean he's my neighbor.
Okay, so you know more about this, right? Okay. Please listen to the podcast.
Yes.
Yeah. So we'll see you in the next one. Right?
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.